What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with some more fantasy football content. Today, I am talking to players I will be buying low and selling high on in fantasy football post week one. These guys make a big time impression in people's heads after their week one performances, and you can capitalize on that impression and help win your fantasy football league. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm out here sweating, no fan, just for the sound quality for you guys. So hit that subscribe button. I drop rankings, waiver wires, all that stuff every single week. So you're going to check it all out. Beat your league mates. Subscribe to Fantasy Joe. Hit that like button if you like the video, and if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. Run some trade ideas by me. I respond to all comments, so I got you guys. Okay, let's talk some of these guys. Okay, so first off, some buy lows I'm going to talk about. All these guys I would be putting some offers into in leagues that I'm in. I think they are a great value coming off a bad week one performance, but I really like their signs moving forward. I think they're going to continue to be studs. Obviously, these are some guys I'm not even going to talk about a ton because they're just such big names, but if you can go out there and acquire them, these would be the first guys I'd probably try to go after. At running back, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara. I liked all their usage in week one, wasn't scared away by any of it, but they didn't have the most fantasy production. So these are all guys I think you might be able to potentially get away from their owners. Okay, let's dive into some of the biggest ones. This might be the biggest one for me at the wide receiver position currently. It's Mike Williams. Let's just talk about, I own him in this league, so I'm not worried about him trying to acquire him. Only 4 targets, 2 receptions in week one. For 2 points. Obviously not a ton of production in week one, but gets to face Kansas City this upcoming week. Keenan Allen is out. He's always going to be a guy who kind of has some bust games, I think, and he obviously had one in week one. We all felt it, but I still think those boom games are coming. He was given a $60 million contract in the offseason. Teams don't really go out and give players $60 million and then just never throw him the ball. I expect his targets to increase dramatically moving forward. He's got a stud quarterback in Justin Herbert, and I think he can be a major contributor to fantasy football teams. He was already going in the 4th round following a poor week one performance. I think he can be acquired on the low. Let's talk Javonte Williams next up on these buy low guys. Here's the thing about Javonte. Played 58% of snaps, a very encouraging number to me. Only 7 carries, not great number there. They were trailing for a majority of this game, but look at that reception number. 11 receptions on 12 targets, I believe, for him in week one. Fumbled on the goal line. That impacts his fantasy performance a ton, but I really expect him. He looked good on the ground. He looked good. I was really excited by the passing volume he was getting from Russ. I am really, really excited for him moving forward. I think he's a guy that you can go out and get on the low. I'd be really excited to acquire Javonte moving forward. I think the offense will be much improved with Russell Wilson at quarterback. Obviously, they didn't look great in week one. I think they'll iron that stuff out as the season progresses. And he finished with the RB17 last year with a limited workload and no Russell Wilson. So I think the sky is the limit for him moving forward. Another guy from the same team that I'm going to touch on briefly, Cortland Sutton, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Let's look at him. So 95% snap percentage. That's a very good number. And then 7 targets. As long as he's getting right around that target range, I think he could even go up from there. Russ threw a lot to the running back in the tight end position. I don't think he'll throw to them as much as he did in week one moving forward. I think there'll be a much bigger wide receiver target share season long. But I really believe in Cortland Sutton's talent still. 1,100 yards. With Joe Flacco 2 years ago, now he's removed from that ACL injury. All the practice reports are that he is the number 1 wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy obviously had that long touchdown play, but in my eyes, Cortland Sutton is the wide receiver I still want on that team moving forward, although I do view them somewhat similar, but like I said, Sutton is the guy that I want. Let's start another one here. Kyle Pitts. If you guys can go out and acquire Kyle Pitts right now, I think it would be absolutely an awesome buy. Mariota looks solid in week one. Only 2 receptions for him for 19 yards, but look at that. 7 targets. I think he's a wide receiver. You can play the tight end position the way they utilize him. He's extremely talented. Has the highest or the largest wingspan of any player in the NFL in the last 20 years. Highest drafted tight end in NFL history. This guy has all the precursors to produce, had 1,000 yards last year. And like I said, if there's a receiver who had 1,000 yards as a rookie year, all the draft capital and everything he has moving forward, and then you could, acquire him in year 2. Everyone talk about the year 2 breakout, but you can play him at the tight end position, which gives you that positional advantage. Very excited for him. Here's another one. He's a guy I would try to acquire I'm not trading a ton for him. I just think he's still a talented football player. Baker didn't look great in week 1, and he didn't produce a ton, but 6 targets, 3 for 43 for DJ Moore. I still expect him 3 seasons of 1,100 yards. I expect him to be right around there, and you just got to hope that his touchdowns can come up a little bit with Baker. If he could get 6 or 7 this year as opposed to 4 that he's had the previous 3 seasons, I think he could be a dynamite player for your fantasy football team. Now let's talk about some guys that I'm willing to sell on right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm willing to move on from just because his week 1 performance was so dominant. It's not that I don't think he'll be used or the lead back in that offense moving forward, and I do like his prospects for this season. Last year was 160 pounds due to a gallbladder injury, or gallbladder surgery, but got down to extremely low weight before the season. He's back now. He's healthy. Scored 2 touchdowns in week 1 on 10 touches, so I would try to move him if I could, but I think that the reason his touches were so low is because they had such a big lead in that game. They didn't want to use him in the second half. They gave some of their other backs some run. That's where we saw a lot of Isaiah Pacheco's volume and production come in, was there. And then Ezekiel Elliott, not exactly a sell high. I'd be willing to move on for him, though, with the Dak Prescott injury, to be honest with you. He looked good on the ground, and you hope that they just feed him. But honestly, what we've seen when Dak goes down the pass with Mike McCarthy is he tries to run a lot of trick plays, doesn't just pound the rock like he should, makes things too complicated on himself. And so he'd be a guy I'd be willing to move on from. Another guy I'd be willing to trade, and this is not an indictment on him. I just think I'm a little bit worried about the offense in general coming in. He's a volume monster. But, he has to make explosive plays basically by himself and then just get volume, is Najee Harris. I'm just worried about his ankle injury a little bit moving forward. If he's fully healthy, he's an absolute stud, but I just don't know if I really believe that he is fully healthy. And if it is a high ankle sprain like it looked like, that's something that could prevent him from being back to his full self for a big chunk of this season. So he's a guy I would be willing to move on from. And all these buy lows and sell highs, guys, these are deals you should be trying to make that are favorable in your direction right now. Buying Mike Williams, you could maybe take a Jerry Jeudy and flip him for Mike Williams or something like that, and I'd be willing to do that exact type of a trade. Same thing with Javonte. See if you can take Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a piece and go get Javonte Williams in your leagues, or something like that for Sutton as well. I think a lot of these guys can be acquired. CMC, Henry, Eckler, Cook, Kamara, all stud running backs, but let's say you take a Clyde and a Zeke, package that together and go get one of those players. I'd be absolutely super excited about that moving forward. So those are my buy lows, sell highs. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you have any questions or comments, drop those trades down below. I'll let you guys know what I would do. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out. Have a good one.